All right. Okay, so we're still, what did I say? We're waiting for uh Rick Hyatt and Taj Davis. Well, it's 6 o'clock. Give him a couple minutes. Is that all right? I mean, Taj just emailed, said he was going to be on, so he should be here any minute.
You could do a little song and dance, Rick.
I could, but then you guys would all leave.
Oh, hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could just we got some of the chapter on. We got Will Gordon and Grayson, and we got Jacob and Finn on, which is great to see. I'm so glad that we got four of you, and hopefully there might be some more coming on. Because this is a big decision. This is a big thing that we're trying to get going for the chapter, while we all try to find out a good place to live on a more permanent basis. So so what we've been offered by SIU is a way to um, live on campus in a Thompson Point on a floor that also will have the ability to have your own dining hall, your own dining reservation, so you can all eat together. Um, so it's a kind of a nice offering from SIU to kind of get you guys together. We know that in 2027 they'll be required to have sophomores on as well as freshmen. So well, we're really looking to get something designed, because SIU is requiring us to have a housing policy, so they know um, what our policy is going to be when they open the floor to you guys. So looks like we got a couple other new guys on. Let's see, we got Drake came on, and we got Taj on now. We're waiting for Rick Hyatt. So what we were asked to do from Susan Graham was to come up with a housing policy. We had not had one before, so we kind of just wrote something from scratch. Um, we sent it out to the committee, which is Chuck and Tej and Paul and Al and Rick and I, kind of to start getting this together. And I sent out last night um, the draft that we have formatted so far with Al and Rick's things in there as well. And so what we're here to do tonight is kind of talk through what we want to achieve here and what our final policy is going to be, so that on at the board meeting on June 23rd, we can have the board approve this and give it to Susan Graham, uh, so that she can start planning for, uh, you know, a floor, because they said they need to start that as soon as possible if we're going to do it. The other thing I have here is I have from Susan Graham, and I'll bring it up on the screen here, the list of all of the minimum requirements of Thompson Point. Bear with me. Let me see if I can find this real quick.
Hey,
Um,
just to clarify, Thompson Point's just 2 stories, aren't they?
I can't remember. I don't know, guys that live there.
Is
How
it
many
3 or 4?
floors are there?
Three
Two
It's
or
three.
floors.
4? Okay.
Three floors. There's a fourth if you count the basement.
Okay.
All right. So let me bring this up just so we can see this real quick here. See if I can get this. Well, let's copy this and put it in here. It might be easier. Okay, let me share my screen real quick here, so you can see this. Share. Okay, can everybody see this? So this is from Susan Graham regarding um, what they have available for you guys for the chapter on in Thompson Point. So here's the info on how many on the floor for Thompson Point. 40. I think technically it's 38, not including the RA. A short wing holds an old triple, now mostly housing two at the end, and four suites, eight residents. So if there were a smaller number of members, this might be a better bet. A long wing, which is 10 suites, 20 residents with an old triple, would be better if they're anticipating more than 10 people. I would say that add there is a suite in the middle of the wings, two bedrooms, so four students. They could go with either the long or the short wings. Just don't forget that we'll need an RA room, which is not included in the wing count. Good
Rick,
thing,
can I?
yes.
I'm a little confused based on that. How many people are for each wing? Sorry.
Well, she's offering us some variations, and it's kind of confusing. And I asked for a little bit clarification, and I really didn't get it. So she's looking for, a short wing for eight residents, it looks like. Uh, a long wing, which is 20 residents. Um, uh, but I'm sure that, you could go with, any number. You say 20, it just could be more than 10 people. So if you had, say you wanted 10 people, 12 people on a floor, then that would be the long wing we would go with. That's the way I'm reading it. And I don't know, guys that live there, does that sound reasonable to you, what she's saying?
What do you mean, Rick?
Well, I mean, so one of the questions that we need to solve is if we do this in Thompson Point, um, and she's saying there's either a short wing or a long wing. Um, I'm assuming from what she's saying here that if we do the short wing, we're looking at about 8 AGRs. And if we're looking at a long wing, we could do 10 or more, up to 20. That's the way I'm reading it. Is that kind of your impression of what Thompson Point is? It's been a long time since I've been there. So I guess one of the big questions we have to decide on is, are we going to do this? And if we're going to do this, what rules are there going to be? And what is our size? What are we looking to achieve here? Now, I know you guys have three sophomores in 2020. I mean, three people are going to be sophomores. Three AGRs are going to be sophomores in 2026, this coming fall. And the rest are juniors and seniors. And that's partly because there was no spring class. So the big question is going to be, what are we looking for in 2027? We know that whatever whatever you have this year that are freshmen, and current freshmen are going to have to live someplace on campus in 2027. That number is unknown because all we know is you're going to have at least three. The way I'm reading it, does that sound correct? Until you get the new pledge class.
Yes, sir. That would be right around that ballpark. Yes.
Okay, so let's say you have 10, that you get 10 this fall, and let's say 8 of them are going to be sophomores in 2027. Potentially, you might be looking at 10 to 11 freshman, sophomore. Now, we're looking for a little bit larger range in 2027. We're looking for freshmen, sophomore, juniors to live together because we are looking at trying to get you to live together as a cohesive unit, and not become a club. We want that fraternity atmosphere. So we want to know, I know that that's a cost, but you guys are going to pay, whoever's going to be freshman and sophomore are going to pay that cost regardless, whether you're living together in Thompson Point or not, because you're going to require to live there. So the way I see it is you've got freshmen and sophomore in 2027 are going to pay approximately $11,500 a year for room and board. Is that sound correct? I'll pause this right now. Does that sound correct to everybody?
I mean, this past fall or this past year, I spent $960 some odd dollars every month on my room and board. So yeah, that's right about right. That 1150.
Okay. So what our job is
Sorry,
tonight is to meet
sorry.
those requirements with Susan Graham of what we are looking to achieve and give them to her as soon as possible, which we'd like to have this voted on by the board meeting on the 23rd. You've all had a chance to read through this. And I'll bring it up on the screen again here so we can kind of go through it. But we need to get this kind of thought through, but we need the chapter buy-in here. I mean, this is not going to work if you guys aren't willing to live together. So I kind of need you guys to kind of speak up now and tell us what your feelings are.
Grayson, can I ask a question? We're
Yeah,
I
go
think
right
you're
ahead.
the ones that just said 900 and some dollars a month.
Yeah,
Where did you live at? Did you
Thompson
live on?
Point.
Okay,
Thompson Point. Yep.
thank you. That is helpful.
I guess I can start. I mean, I feel like if you wanted our opinion and if you were going to take our opinion, when we voted as a chapter that we didn't want to live on the dorms, I feel like it was unanimous that none of us wanted to live on the dorms because if we go and move on the dorms, we lose all of the upper advantage of like recruitment. As a recruitment chair this past year or this past semester, the number one problem that new guys had was our housing situation. It's why they didn't want to join. Nobody's going to want to come and join if we're in a dorm. I really truly believe that if we, I mean, I know it's not feasible to get it, next semester, but we really need to be focusing and shifting our focus on to getting a new house because that's what's going to be a leg up for us because this now 2-year requirement on campus, there will be a a opt out if you're in Greek life. So I think us as a fraternity, we need to focus on keeping our fraternity strong through these struggle years and these next 2 to 3 years while we focus on getting a house. Because if we do this whole 4 year, like or freshmen, sophomores, juniors have to live on campus and in the dorms, nobody's going to want to join AGR. That it's just simple. Nobody wants to live in the dorms as it is. We as a fraternity lose all of our momentum and all of the advantage when we do this on campus living. So that is a consensus throughout the entire chapter. So, if you guys want to go against it, like obviously that you guys can, but you won't have a chapter much longer if you do that because nobody's going to want to join a fraternity that has their Greek housing on campus. Rather just not have it.
I'm just a little confused because if we don't get you a house for the next 5 years, you're not going to live in a house for 5 years. So you're telling me for 5 years, you're not going to be able to recruit people. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying it would be better for us to not have a on-campus living and just live off campus and have our hangouts outside, just like I can count on my hand 4, maybe five fraternities, and I know at least 2 or 3 sororities have designated like hangout spots that they go to this house. That's where they have their parties. That's where they hang out. That's where all of the social aspect happens at. Um, it we're gonna lean into the more professional side of our fraternity, and in my opinion, that's the part of our fraternity that makes it great. Um, nobody, I don't know how many times I can say it. Nobody's gonna want to join AGR, let alone stay in AGR if we have to live on campus in dorms. We've left that life. Some of it we've gotten lucky because we left.
Question. Thank you, Grayson, for speaking up. A couple questions. First off, we're being told that freshmen and sophomore are going to be required to live in a dorm. So for the
Yep.
undergraduates, we're not.
Dr. Bergen and I have talked about that, which he is the vice chancellor of student affairs. What will happen is there will be, for Greek life, if you are a sophomore, there will be a waiver for you to live off campus. If you're in Greek life and you can prove that you're in Greek life and you can prove that you are in a certified house, that you can live off campus. So
you need to get that clarified with the university because that's the first
that is actually in the new housing contracts, that there is a waiver. I mean, I had my meeting with Dr. Bergen right at the end of the semester. I was with Dr. Berg and Chancellor Lane. Both of them have said, yeah, this is in it. And the fact that, me being the USG president didn't know about it, that was an issue because it's been one of our biggest issues through the student government that people are worried about it. So obviously it just hasn't been publicized the way that it should be.
Yeah, we need to get to the bottom of that. And then you said certified, so we need to know what certified is going to.
Yeah, so it's a registered house. So like our house on West Freeman, that was a registered AGR house. We could have our letters outside of it. Some of the Divine Nine houses, so some of those, the black fraternities and sororities, what they have they're called unofficial houses. So they have the house, they do all their stuff. Their guys live in it, their girls live in it, but they can't put their letters on it. So that's what's an unofficial house.
We can't control if people live together, but we're not going to. I know this alumni association is not going to support an unofficial house, but
absolutely, I agree. It should be registered.
Back to your point, I just want a point of clarification. So you guys voted unanimously not to live on campus in a dorm, but you also voted to leave the Freeman House, and that's because of the overall condition of the Freeman House and the location, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the.
Let me make a point here if I can. I don't know how many times I've been told that the house had nothing to do with Rush. You guys were to the point you didn't even bring new freshmen by there. You didn't even show them the house because of the condition it was in. And how many freshmen have tried to come by and their parents said, no, they're not going to let them live there? How many of all you guys lived in that house from day one? Very few, really. That house meant nothing to the chapter as far as Rush and bringing people in. All your meetings were in the ag school. You guys still did well in school and academics, all your awards and banquets and everything else. That house didn't have any play in that either. So
actually, one of the main things for me that convinced me to join was living off campus and living in that environment, along with like being able to be somewhere else other than my dorm room studying, because I actually would go over to the house every single week and that would be my study area. I would study in the library every single time, and that was like my go-to place to study and everything. So the house really brought me, because it was away from campus. I wanted away from campus as far as possible. Because I hated the dorms whenever I did it my whole first year, and I just wanted away from that and into AGR's
what dorms
house.
were you in?
I was in Thompson Point's Stiegel Hall.
Okay.
I felt the exact same way when I rushed. I wanted to live with my friends. I wanted to live off campus. That was a major drawing point for me.
I'll also add on to that. I would say a lot of our awards came from the reasoning of us getting together, coming up with ideas, coming up with fundraising and things of that nature, philanthropy, to get the awards that we did through the School of Ag and through the Greek organization or the Greek Life organization. I mean, we all would sit in a room and just think about what we did. We'd go through our Instagram, we'd go through our Facebook, anything that we could think of, just to get an idea to put on an application so we can send it in to win those awards. So I wouldn't say necessarily that the house had nothing to do with it, but that's the one time that I mean, and a lot of times throughout the week where we'd sit together, talk about it, talk about other things, trying to make what we can do better, but also making everybody else around us better. I mean, that's kind of our main motto here, is to make better men, and that's exactly what we were doing. So a house had a lot to do with it, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, speak more on that. Like, we don't bring people to the house, like you said, because it is in such poor condition, but that doesn't stop people from knowing what West Freeman was, right? I mean,
What is it?
first time I told the chancellor I was in AGR, he told me, you guys are on West Freeman, right? And I said yes, and he goes, how has that been? And I told him exactly how it had been, because he knew, just like everybody else knows, the environment that you are in when you live around West Freeman. You are in the projects. There is no question about that. That is literally the designated project A housing. So you can't sit there and say that it had nothing to do with it when it truly did. I mean, I'll stick up for myself here. I mean, I was a recruitment chair that got 0 recruits. Do you know how hard and how much that sucked? It did. I mean, I had some of my best friends telling me, hey, why aren't we getting guys? And it was because of the housing situation. I'm not going to blame it all on the housing situation, because you can look across Greek life or across the entire university and numbers were down. But I mean, some of the guys that were even considering it chose farmhouse because farmhouse had a better house and a safer house. I mean, when people know that we've gotten broken into, I mean, shoot, what are you going to do? Openly and comfortably say, hey, I'm going to live in a house that gets broken into a few times a semester? Or, shoot, for me, it's enough. Hey, this house got broken into once. I'm done. I'm not moving there. I'm not living there. So I'm not going to sit here and let you say that did not infect it, because it did. So,
Did you file police? Did you have police reports when you had got broke in?
every single one of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Grayson,
Whenever I
I
tell
don't.
people I live in that house, they openly like, oh, isn't that in the ghetto? Just blatantly like,
Yep.
how is that? Is that any fun? I said, the guys make it better than it is. That's the only reply I could have.
Where I don't want to get too far down this path, but where is Farmhouse's house, Grayson, or anybody for that?
So
It's on the. Oh, good.
No, I was just gonna say they're a block away, on the closer side of campus.
Yeah, they're on the main road of Mill Street. It's right out in front. You can see it while leaving campus. Going on, once you go off of Lincoln Road, you're going off campus. You look to your left, you see the 2 houses that farmhouse has. You have the party house and you have the brick house, and you see both the houses. Granted, I believe at least one of them's an unofficial house. I don't know if both of them are.
I don't think any
But
of them are official houses.
Okay, thank you. But you look over there and you know those 2 are the farmhouse houses, because you always see people around it. You always see guys hanging out, and they don't even, sometimes they're not even the farmhouse guys. There's a bunch of people that would just go there and
You guys know what their chapter number is right now? Enrollment.
off the top of my head, I would not know. I'd say maybe Chris, would you know?
I'd probably estimate around 30 or more guys.
Okay.
That's why I was thinking I was going around that ballpark, 30 or more.
I mean, they got like 5 guys this last semester.
Yeah.
3 of which who told me they would not join AGR because of the housing situation at AGR. Just FYI.
Well, we need to figure this out, gentlemen, because we're not going to have a house for probably 4 or 5 years. So that's what this meeting's about. And no matter how much we talk about having a house, we're not going to have a house.
I don't know that that's true. I don't know that we'll have one either, but I can't say that we're not going to have a house for 4 to 5 years.
I say if we go 4 to 5 years without a house, there will be no more chapter. I mean, Kappa Alpha lost their house in a year they were gone. Omega Delta lost their house within a year they're gone, and that's just been in the last 4 years. No one's gonna rush a fraternity that doesn't have a house. Why would I go to AGR with no house when Farmhouse has two?
I will say this, I'll put this in here, which it is a sorority, so it is different. But take Sig Out, for example, our sister sorority. They lean into the professional side. They have no house, and they're the largest sorority on campus. They got 60 some odd girls, and they have no house. What is it stopping us from being like our sister sorority? Our comparison, right? We have the opportunity to lean into the professional side, which I'm not saying cut out all of the social side, but lean into it, embrace it, and maybe some good will come out of that because obviously they're thriving. They have the best numbers that they've had in the past 20 years. Why shouldn't we have 60 guys? There's no answer to that, in my opinion.
I think on the majority, people join fraternities because of the social aspect. At SIU, at least.
So if the house is the absolute stimulating thing for recruitment and you having a house for a few or for many, what have you done to find that?
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, you're sharing with us and telling us several things. First of all, we have to watch our costs. Um, I don't want to say we're cheap, but we have to watch our costs, and that we need a place that is not in the ghetto to live. And we have been looking hard for several years, not months, several years. We had a place in South 51, and I still think we blew it there, but that's personal. Um, what have you folks looked at or searched out or found? You live down there. We don't live down there. That's
I
the
know that
problem. We don't
I know that
have an
Gordon's
immediate
found a couple houses.
contact to find places that you're looking at that are acceptable. So, is there any alternatives that you have for us?
Uh,
Well,
like,
well,
yep.
like I did. I mean, I sent that one to Rick that, of course, didn't have fire or the fire suppression system, so we couldn't get to it. I've been looking. I talked to Tom Meyer. We've been looking. I've been looking hard, especially when we left. He said, just keep an eye out. I mean, you're down here, you hear about properties opening up. I look at my phone every day for listings that would suffice of us living in it, and there's just none that can hold the amount that you guys are thinking. So I mean, we are looking. I'm looking really hard at it. Uh, every time a new listing opens up, I get notifications. I jump on there and look. There's just been none that I know you guys would say absolutely yes to, and I don't want to waste your time bringing it to you.
I don't think necessarily house size really matters that much. We can have a 6-person house and it's still somewhere that anybody in the chapter can go and hang out.
I agree with Chris on that one. I believe that, like, even having just 6 people, because that's all we could fit in, or that's all we could fill before we closed on this lease. Uh, at this most recent one, was we only had 6 people that wanted to come back. I think that having a 6 bedroom, maybe 3 bathroom, even like 2, 3 bathroom with 6 people. Granted, you're going to have to share, but that would still work really well for all of us, and you'd have enough room to have the whole chapters still.
And also, I don't know if you guys have looked at Thompson Point, but the whole university, all their HVAC is run off of a steam system. So meaning like whenever I lived in the dorms, I had air conditioning for 2 weeks in the fall. And the day they turn it off, they can't turn it back on for one day. So I went through probably 3 weeks of 90-degree heat with no AC. I had my shower running constantly on just cold as possible, and I would go in there to cool down because it was so hot in the dorm.
Some things never change. That's been that way for a long time. Question: if we had, and this is a big if we had we're not going to have anything for this fall for sure, and most likely
course.
spring. If we had something for fall of 2027 off campus, do you think that we could have a structured also on campus wing for our freshmen and sophomores, or just freshmen? Given that we've learned that there's going to be a waiver for certified Greek housing, which we still need to verify. I'm not questioning that it's true. We need to get it straight from the university.
Yeah.
If you're just looking at freshmen, it doesn't really seem to make much sense for people because a lot of people in ag all live in Stiegel anyway. So I know Drake probably lived with a couple guys in AGR in his dorm. I know Liam probably did too, or at least nearby. Like
Yeah,
Thompson is
Liam
small.
was room over.
I don't think it's necessary at that point.
Any other alumni have anything to ask?
Go ahead, Rick. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, is any other alumni have anything to ask? Maybe what we'll do is, if there's nothing else, or when we're finished, we'll have the guys drop off, and then the committee will kind of talk a little bit amongst ourselves.
I do have a question. If you don't, and I realize you haven't had them living with you, so this is a dumb question, but I don't know the answer. How have you been educating your new initiates, to the ways of the fraternity, etc.? And I'm not talking about hazing. I'm talking about true education, about the history of fraternity, the history of Beta Alpha, etc. If they're not all living together, or if they're not all meeting together.
We just have them all meet at the house at the same time, and I'd give them a golden crescent, and I'd tell them what chapters to study, and they'd be tested on it. I was membership development last election cycle.
So did you have a weekly meeting or daily meeting, or?
So we would all have, so the whole fraternity come together on Tuesdays, and I would basically tell them, okay, we're cleaning the house. I'll tell the new guys we're cleaning the house on Wednesdays, and then we have a 2-hour block on Thursdays for doing your homework and doing tests and reading the Golden Crescent and giving them the next test pretty much and telling them what to study. And then they'd have a week to learn the information.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm good.
Two questions. Who can give us the sheet of paper that has that exclusion for sophomores living in a certified Greek house? Has anybody got a copy of that?
That'd be Grayson, most likely.
I got a verbal confirmation through Dr. Bergen and Chancellor Lane. The last meeting I had with them, I can send Dr. Bergen a message here after this meeting, and try and get a piece of paper that can give that to you a little bit more clear.
I would like to have you do that. My second question is, if that is the case, don't we still need to have some organization for a place for freshmen and sophomore to live? Because we're talking about 2027, and 2027 is when they are required to live in university housing. So even if there was a waiver for some sophomores, don't we still need like maybe 10 beds for freshmen and sophomores to live in 2027?
I think the big issue with that is a lot of the recruitment comes after they're already moved into the dorms. So like I had no clue what AGR was whenever I moved into my dorm. And rush week's the week after move in, or it's the week after the first week of school. So like 2 weeks after I moved in. So we don't really have we have very few people. Like I know Brett Brown and Garrett who got dropped. They lived in the house, but they were also transfer students. And whenever they lived in the house, we were like, okay, if you live in the house, you're gonna have to rush. We don't really have a way of telling them that they have to.
But Chris, wait a minute. Let's think this through for a second. We're talking about this fall you're going to rush, and you're probably going to rush some freshmen. So these freshmen that you're going to rush this fall will be sophomores in 2027. If
Okay.
we don't have a house in 2027, we're asking, don't we need to kind of give these sophomores and a place to live that would live together if they're going to have to live in Thompson Point anyway? Wouldn't that be a nice thing to do, is to have your sophomore class at the very minimum live together if you got to be there anyway?
I don't see how it could necessarily hurt, but I don't think it's necessarily helpful either. Because I guarantee you, people are going to be that have to live in the dorms are going to other people's apartments so they can hang out. Like the dorms have some crazy rules, like no extension cords. You can't have like basically anything, and you can get in trouble for pretty much anything, and you don't have the freedoms of living off campus.
Correct.
Well, here's another question. If freshman and sophomore are required to live on campus, I don't care if we have a 6-man house or a 20-man house, I don't think your juniors or seniors are willing to move into that house to fill up that void.
Now in our constitution, we actually have a thing that wouldn't have been active until next semester, that we now have a thing where it'd be a drawing out of a hat if we were running out of if we didn't have people. But if we do have the sophomore exemption form, I think that you'd have more sophomores and younger people trying to push yourself into a bunch of different of the Greek housing if we have that exemption form.
And I personally, I'm going to be a 2020 a junior and or a senior in the coming years. I will personally move in there. I have full intentions of living in that house until I'm either graduated or married.
Same here.
If we got a new house, I don't think we would have any issue filling it. I think a majority of people's issues with the house weren't because of the cleanliness, because that can get fixed. It was more of all the mold in the house. The house was falling off the foundation. There was a gas leak in the house for God knows how long whenever I lived there, and we didn't know about it until a hole got put into the wall. There was a gas leak right behind the stove, and a hole got punched in the wall, and we smelled gas. Fire department was there right away. We had no clue how long it was there.
All right. I know all the issues that you're talking about, but I'm going to remind everybody too that lived in that house all those years. We never heard about that because you guys didn't report it. Brian from Top Tier wasn't reported either. And if we buy a house and we live in our own house, any kind of damages or anything, you guys have to report, and it's not getting done.
I don't
We
think
can't
that would
fix
be
it
an
if we
issue.
don't. We can't fix it if we don't know about it.
Okay. Like,
Talking
we
about
can report it. Like, I don't think any of us have an issue with reporting something going wrong with the house, like a gas leak. But we didn't know it was there for 6 months. That house, we got it. It was bad, and it's still bad now, you know?
In addition to that, with kind of going off of what both of you guys said, our very most recent thing that happened, like our AC going out during this summer, people like me that lived there, I immediately reported it to Brian immediately. As soon as I caught wind of it, I texted him, got it all fixed up, and it got fixed in 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, in about a week.
Yep. When it's reported, he's good at it. When you give it to me or somebody else, we pass it on to whoever we need to get it done.
So I think if we ended up getting a new house, I think that, especially with the newer classes coming in, if you were extremely strict on that area of, hey, report it, like, this is our house now, we own this, we need to know when something gets broken, when something gets fixed, I think that it would be a lot stronger in their head of report it so we have a better house.
I want to make a point too. You keep talking about a new house. we're not going to have a brand new house. It's going to be a used
Of
house, just
course.
like the one we're in.
Of course.
And
I
it's
don't
going to have
think you can
issues.
find a new house here for cheap anyways.
It's going to have issues. It's going to have old material and old workmanship, and there's a lot that we're going to have to pay up front to make it a fraternity, and that's the big question, if we can afford that. And when we start paying for that kind of stuff, that's when your rent goes up, because we've got to pay the bill.
Especially back to Chuck's point.
I
If we
still
do
think it's better than $6,000 a semester for living at the dorms. I don't think anybody wants to pay that for not being able to do anything.
You know, what I've heard you guys tell me is that you want a place to live where half a dozen people can live, and you want to be able to have an open bar and hang out and do whatever and have no real thing you're responsible for. It doesn't sound really, the feedback that we have had over the last year on the house and what you guys wanted, and the feedback that we got from the university. We've got four different stories and not a lot of facts, other than you want to live really cheap and you don't want to live in the dorms.
I wouldn't mind
Those are
paying
the
more
only.
for a nice place. I'm paying around the same I did, and I have a place with a living room and a kitchen to me and one other person right now. So it's way better than paying
Right.
$6,000 for the dorms where I don't have a fridge. And I'm
Oh,
limited on the size of my fridge. I can't cook.
along with that, National is telling us that the idea of pushing academics and having a place where you hang out without a house is what they see for the future, due to the lack of agricultural students coming in. So we're kind of trying to balance a number of things here.
Well, and here's the thing on that is, as the School of Ag is getting smaller and smaller, majority of the people that are in AGR right now aren't even ag. There's maybe 10% of the, I mean, if that, maybe less than that now, that are actually ag. A lot of them are aviation, a lot of them are engineering. I mean, to keep alive, we have to get a widespread thought on who we really want to pick up, but we have to keep a really good eye on who we're picking up, because we can't just stay alive by recruiting ag people. I mean, we have to spread out so we can keep afloat with more numbers, as makes it cheaper for everybody else and easier.
Well, to that point, when you spread out and get, you include agriculture, aviation, and so on, but if you get too far afield, do you become a professional fraternity anymore, or you just become another frat in the university?
Are you saying you have an
I
issue
think,
with people who aren't in ag?
well, that's, and what I think to that is, if you stay to the morals that we're at, you will gain more professional skills than you will social skills. I mean, you'll learn social skills, don't get me wrong, but it's not such of the fact of what your major is. It's more on the fact that we stand to our morals and teach what we've taught for the last how many years since AGR has been a thing at SIU. You still learn the professional skills no matter what your major is. So I don't really see how your different majors really make a difference on if you still keep your professional aspect or not.
So
At what point, gentlemen, does the house become yours when you move into a house? And I asked that question because that came up when we decided to close down Freeman Street, and I don't know who, somebody made the comment about it. This house was a crummy old women's shelter. And everybody talks about how crummy it is and how bad it is, but I'm going to tell you, 16 years ago when we moved into that house, we got pictures and that house was immaculate. When do you make it your house, is my point. It's been yours for 16 years. All those years that all these people came and went, over 16 years, it's been our house. It's not.
But within those 16 years, you look at the people who trashed the house before we got there, and now we're getting the backlash for it. I mean, I'm not really
Okay.
seeing how this is necessarily our fault, Chuck. I mean, I'm not trying to be
No,
pushy.
I'm not trying to blame anybody, but I'm saying that's the breakdown of the brotherhood there to let it get to that point.
Whenever
So
I first joined the fraternity, most of the people that had to move into the house, they would either have to clean a room and completely renovate it, or they would
Yep,
move into somebody else's room that they just gave up and took all their stuff out. Like
yep.
the room that is the main floor, if you're looking at the bathroom door to the right, that used to be full of stuff and it was just disgusting. Like
No, I know. Two
my
years
like
ago, 2 years ago, we came in there and cleaned out that place, and it looked like a living dumpster. The office that you have now was nothing but a trash room. Everybody threw their crap in there. Now I know what it looked like. But my point is, when do you make it your house? Do you just let it keep going like that when it gets out of control? The answer is no, you don't. But you guys do. You guys let it fester and go on and on and on, and that's why we spent $20,000 repairing doors and walls.
so if I can maybe sum this up. So if if we took this deal with SIU for freshmen, sophomores for 2027, because we wouldn't have a house by then, chances are anyway. Now that's, you know, if we did have a house, it'd be different. But if we don't have the house in 2027, you would be willing to have freshmen and sophomores live together in Thompson Point because we don't have a house and they're going to have to live in a dorm anyway. Is that correct or
yeah,
not?
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think requiring juniors to do it too is a little bit ridiculous.
So you're only saying freshmen. If we did this for 2027 for a single year right now, take it year by year and see what happens.
But
Uh,
also like so if I joined SIU this semester, after my freshman year, I can move out. The rule only starts to take place into the fall, meaning that people that are true freshmen in the fall of this coming year, this coming school year, then those are the people that have to live 2 years. So if I started out this year, I could already have a lease signed at an apartment somewhere.
yeah, I'm saying if you recruit in the fall of this year and you recruit freshmen, those freshmen are going to be sophomores in 2000 fall of 2027. So
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea to have a place for them to all kind of live together.
the
Yeah.
unknown is if you're going to have any and how many. That's the big question.
I don't think we'll know that number until we get to it, Rick.
Right.
And but to Grayson's point, he's saying that there's going to be a waiver for sophomores.
Only if there's a house off
Only if
campus.
there's a Greek house.
Yeah, only if there's official.
I understand that.
Yeah, and I'm saying if there isn't a house in 2027, then
Which
that
is
would
which is a fair possibility given
right.
how long
Right.
it would take to do something.
Right.
Yes.
Because let me just state this. So we are forming a strategic planning committee, and the strategic planning committee is going to be looking at short term, medium term, and long term ways of the future and housing and whatnot, fundraising and all that. So we're working towards that end goal, but we need this short term fix right now while we investigate what our possibilities are. So I want to keep. I was, this was an offer from SIU from Susan Graham. And so I thought it was a good win for you guys. It sounds like it isn't a good win for you guys, but if it can be at least a good win for your freshman, sophomore for 2027, that's a short-term solution. Is that something that you guys can see your way through?
I
As a,
in the
go ahead.
sense of it, Rick, I think yes, we could see our way through it. It's just I think a lot of people were pumping their brakes when they read that all freshmen, sophomores, and juniors had to live in the dorms, and that's where a lot of people were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait a minute." But now I feel like
Well,
if if you're thinking of doing like just the freshmen and sophomores where they have a place to live, of course we have to figure out numbers and things of that nature, like you said. But I don't think I don't see why it couldn't be feasible to do that, because everybody wants to not live with some random roommate. They make friends and then they want to live together. And I think that's another thing where on the end of it, if they make friends in the dorms that aren't really thinking about rushing, but they are, that's another recruitment point where they're going to talk them into living or getting into AGR so they can live together in a dorm room together with everybody else in AGR. So,
right, and I'm saying that this is, like you said, for 2027, but it could go into 2028 with the same. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what the short term, medium term, and long term fix is right now. We don't have a solution for that. So we need something that this is going to work and keep you guys as a cohesive unit. At least some of you as a cohesive unit together, and maybe that, like you said, might help with recruitment if they know they can move in on that floor the next year. We need to start somewhere.
Here's my take. Oh, do you want to go, Will?
Yeah, just
go ahead.
I think, in my personal opinion, I don't know what everybody else is thinking, and they can put it in their second thought. But I think personally, still doing the freshmen and sophomores is a good idea, and we'll still, if we end up getting a house, we'll still have the backup on the opt out to Greek housing. So it's all right there, just kind of falling into play. We just have to figure out the main details, kind of the thing.
Right. If you guys have a large freshman sophomore recruitment program between this year and the following year, you could have 8, 10, 12 guys living together in a dorm in Thompson Point. I mean, we don't know, but I'm just saying, in my mind, that's something.
Yeah, I think we're on the right path with getting the freshmen, sophomores, keeping that, because you're all about keeping it cohesive and living together. I mean, out of the guys that are in the fraternity right now, I can't think of very many. Maybe one or two guys are not living with brothers, right? So, I mean, I think that's a strong point too. Although we're not living in one house, we are still living with one another on in other areas. So if we can keep our freshmen, sophomores into like a wing of Stiegel, that would be really great. I mean, and I know for me this upcoming year, there's 8 of us in one building and 6 of us are right across the hall from each other. So it's not like we're not going to be hanging out. We're not living with each other. We may not be in the same apartment, but we are still very close and still probably going to see each other every day.
All right. So if we worked towards that goal, do I hear that there's a consensus from this chapter that is a doable thing?
Yes, sir.
For only the freshman, sophomore, correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
As the years go by, we'll readdress that. As it gets down the road a couple of years, we may have to make an adjustment again. We may revisit the junior, is what I'm saying.
Here's my last thing with Chuck saying that. At the beginning of the year, Dr. Bergen, Chancellor Lane, and I were all talking about, just the Greek housing thing with the 2 years on campus, because at that time it wasn't confirmed that you would be able to have a waiver. Roughly 10% of SIU is in Greek housing, right? Or in Greek life, better, not housing. But what they're thinking and what I'm personally thinking is with this waiver, we're going to be able to get that 10% up to the 25%. That is their goal in the next 5 years, is to have at least 20% of SIU to be in Greek life. So I personally don't think here in the next 5 years, you're going to be able to need the juniors. I think you're going to the freshmen, sophomores is going to suffice. So that's my take. That's just numbers for you, but
that's possible. Very possible. Yeah.
That would be
with the
fantastic.
waiver, it gives you a reason to join a fraternity. There's not many reasons to join a fraternity right now except the social side. But if it can get you off campus, that's a big reason to join.
All right, well, get us that waiver. That's the written waiver, so we can see what that looks like.
I've got an email sent out to Dr. Bergen 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And if he doesn't answer by noon, I'll give him a call and see what he can do. I just asked for a little bit more details, and I will screenshot that and send that to you, Rick.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Let us on the committee talk a little bit here and get some things ironed out. I appreciate your comments and you're all coming on, and it's great to see so many of you on here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks very much, the guys in the house. It's good.
Have a great day. Night.
Thank you, guys.
We still have Riley on. Riley, you logging off?
We don't want Riley off.
No, Caldwell.
Oh.
Riley Caldwell.
Nameplate, same name.
Okay, I removed him. Okay, it's just us. All right. Well, I'm going to let somebody talk. I don't even know where to go.
It's really interesting that we get a different story. For the last however many years I've been on the housing group, which seems like 30, but every time we talk to them, there's a new story and a new reason. First it was the housing, then it was the bad neighborhood, and now it's like, only freshmen and sophomores. We don't want the juniors to have to live under the same rules. It's really fascinating. I don't think that any of us were were that good at feeding fantasy when we were that age.
They do reiterate the same thing, that it's all wrapped around the social life.
Yep.
And that's real unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
They basically want a party house. And they say that's why farmhouses are so successful, is they have a house that they live in and then a party house.
Yep.
So let's buy them a bar.
I do. I agree. It's obvious that we've lost some of the professional piece. I was a little bit taken back in the fact that they said they don't recruit students until they're there. That's the opposite of what we did. However, we had an on-campus house where we could have freshmen live there, so that's the reason that we went to recruit incoming freshmen so strong. But I also think, as you guys have obviously heard, I mean, we can't ignore what our current undergraduate chapter is saying. And I will also say it's your leadership. And I did hear from Grayson, who was very vocal at the start, but is also your USGA or USG president for the university. So he's definitely got some true leadership skills. He said lean into the professional side of things several times, and I think we can do that. But I don't think forcing them, especially with their juniors, into a dorm situation is going to accomplish what we want. I don't think we can get anything done by 2027, but maybe we can, to have some sort of an off-campus house again. And if we own the off-campus house, and I mean the alumni chapter, or whatever the situation is, it's a good test to see if we can actually manage it, if they will not destroy it, because they certainly have destroyed it. Chuck, you're not wrong there. There's definitely more wear and tear than anything else on that place. That's not really anything super new. Just 116 was kind of indestructible. But maybe that gives us a few years testing ground if we do want to actually build one. I'm just talking out loud here.
The thing that really kind of gets me is, and it's some of these guys that are still there. Randella is one of them. I mean, but we've subsidized an awful lot of very bad behavior. And, you know, we've collected bad debts that they run up bills, the bills to the national. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I, you know, I hate to say this, but I'm until they can actually show that they can be responsible in what they're doing, I have no interest in doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't. I'm not going to build them a party house. They want to have a party house, they can go find it. It's just disappointing. They could have, that house on Freeman, I know, was no cherry, but they shit on that house. Yeah. It didn't matter what we tried to do to fix that up. They refused to do anything. They refused to help themselves. And I know it wasn't in the neighborhood. They didn't help it.
Will made a very good point, and I've heard that many, many times. Well, it wasn't us, it was the people before us. So they just kept passing the buck.
I'm sorry. The people before them did not let the cockroaches run rampant out of the refrigerator, and I didn't have to clean up cockroaches in a cockroach shower in that place. And the people before them didn't leave 55-gallon trash cans full of beer cans that were half drunk before them. I'm sorry, they would have molded out before then. So it's like, you got to have some help here. You got to help yourselves.
When Paul and I were there that week replacing, what was it, 15 or 16 doors, and the drywaller was in there doing all his stuff, room to room, fixing holes everywhere. One of the things we did, we took the doorway down that somebody had put up to the basement stairwell. There was a hinge door put in there with a coated keyed lock, just like the front doors. And I asked Brian, what is the purpose of this door? Where'd this come from? He said, I don't know. Your guys put it in there. We agreed, okay, then it's coming down. It wasn't code. And I'll never forget when I heard screaming from the other end of the house at the top of their lungs, this is our house. It was some of the actives that were in the house still. Just raising hell because we were taking that door down. Well, that was their security for parties to keep people from roaming upstairs through the house. And they came back to me many, many times trying to get doors added to that stairwell. We even got the city involved as far as codes. They were damn determined they were going to put a door back in there because that's what their parties required.
Well, let me ask the group this. If we take out all these other things besides freshman and sophomore in this policy that we've been writing and just basically make it a freshman sophomore, and is that going to give us some time to get some of this attitude changed if it takes us a couple of years?
I don't think that's going to be a problem because if you're in there in the dorms and a freshman and sophomore, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal to move on into your junior year in the same place if they have to. That's all they're going to know if they come in there as a freshman.
I would like to help them as much as possible, but if they're going, I don't know. And Rick H, I mean, I don't know how we're going to get enough money with all the money we put in Freeman and so on to get another house together unless, we had a bunch of guys that just want to go into house ownership for juniors and seniors. I think we kind of got to go with the short term working with the dorms for freshmen and sophomores and see if that would buy us some time.
Well, that's the goal. I mean, is this going to buy us some time? Is this going to help keep a cohesive group of at least freshmen and sophomores together? Is it worth even pursuing SIU, or do we just can the SIU housing wing entirely and just let them do their thing? I don't know what the best
I think it'll work if we've got enough of them that want to do it. And we don't really have an accurate number on that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. I think the question is, when does the university actually have a commitment, and what does that commitment look like? Because I'll be frank, they don't need it this early. Not for fall of 2027. There's no way they need it this early. The hell, they don't have those dorms full enough to need it this early.
I
They
agree.
can push for it.
Another point in this whole thing is that, you know, even if Greek Row did get cleaned up, old Greek Row, then at least this group, they're no interest at all in any house at all that's on campus.
No. And now they got rules and policies they've got to live by.
You know, and that's the sad part about it, is because you know, they don't want to live by anybody's rules.
This argument about we're taking away their opportunity to be a brotherhood, stronger men. What builds stronger men better than having some rules and regulations, and they need some guidance? We're not asking them to do this their whole life. This is not a life sentence. We're only talking about 2 or 3 years of their life here.
Yeah, but when you're 18 to 22, you don't look at it that way.
No, I know that.
You're right, Chuck, but you just don't.
Well, you know, I'd like to help them any way we can, but I'm really nervous that they won't help themselves.
Well, they haven't. I mean, that's obvious already. But I don't know. You know, the other thing is, it kind of bothers me, you know, when they talk about pledgeship. I was thinking about this the other day. You know, they give them a book to read. That isn't. I mean, you don't learn anything in pledgeship that way.
No,
we had certain things that we actually learned, and we had to go through procedures, planning events, doing community activities. Jim Godke took us down to one of the clothing stores. We learned how to get dressed. We learned how to do different things like that. You know, our house mother spent one whole evening talking about how to set a table. Those guys, they wouldn't know from Friday.
Yep.
Tom Meyer brought Laura in to teach them, you know, how to, you know, suit, tie, how to dine in with like an ADM dinner or whatever. And they couldn't get 3 people to sign up for it. We don't need any of that anymore. And Tom put in a lot of work to line that up, and Laura had a whole program lined up. Nah, not us. We don't have any.
No, somebody made a comment about we need to be directors and not dictators. Well, we have tried over the years to direct and give them guidance, but it doesn't work if they're not going to follow. Nobody more blind than those who refuse to see, and they just don't want to see
it. Rick Hyatt, you have been very, very quiet through all this. It makes me nervous.
Well, I'm as frustrated as everybody's expressing their thoughts. I just can't believe that the kids today do not have the responsibility, the commitment, or the desire to work as a team. They may come together for a particular project as a team, but I'm not sure that if one of them got in trouble or they needed some help or something, you'd have a bunch of them standing right there with their hands out to help. I don't see it. The kids today are really, really different, and I guess I'm seeing that more and more. And quite honestly, I guess I lived my life, and accepted the rules and accepted the challenges that I had, and they don't fit today. And all I'm doing is beating my head up against the wall, kind of like Al said. Um, it just we're a whole different game today. And quite honestly, um, and I know it's going to fry Tadge a little bit, but quite honestly, from what I have seen us go through the last 3 or 4 years, I would hate to own, operate, and have a fraternity house for the men today that we were totally in control of with maintenance, cleaning, upkeep, and everything. The more I look at that Saluki village and having that responsibility turned over to the university and try and use rules and regulations and give some guidance as to how they need to live in somebody else's house. Um, we build a brand new house. I don't care how big, 10 people, 15 people, whatever. 10 years, you're going to rebuild it again.
Yep.
We got to have a hell of a lot deeper pockets and reserves than what we have or than what we're looking for. I really think that that program that Matt laid out, and I'm talking down a dead hole right now because it's not possible. But where he laid out that they would give us credit for having that foundation balance and on the rent, and we could get the rent to be reasonable, and the house is the total responsibility of the university. That just is so good. I can't believe it. But that's the thing that scared me all along. That we raised $2 million and we build a new house and we own it. We better have another 500,000 that we're raising in the next 10 years because you're going to need it. These guys, look at what they did to Freeman after you spent all that time and money and what we put in there. And they came right back and still busted doors, still poked holes,
Yep.
still trashed it. I was down there right before graduation and went through the house, walked through it. There's only a couple people around, and it was terrible. And there was a couple people in their rooms, and even though they knew they were moving out, it was terrible. And I even said, "Hey, do you know we're trying to get out of here?" And we got till June 30th. I said, "No, you don't have till June 30th." Their mentality was they had until June 30th to get out of that house, and they weren't doing nothing until they had to. Will
Yeah.
did everything that happened in that house. And when he took those guys, when he told us the story that he took those guys to lunch and they were going to help him then at the house, and nobody followed through. Gentlemen, that gave me the whole picture of the young men today, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm still going to put money in. I'm still going to support. I'm still going to fight. I'm still going to be with the fraternity, and I want it so bad. I still want a damn place to go and sit before I die in my fraternity house, wherever in the hell that thing's going to be. That's my goal, and I'm worried about having that because I don't see the responsibility in these men to take care of what we would give them. And I know Tom Meyer went down. You can call Tom Meyer. I think he was pretty impressed. And I'm still telling you that we can build a pole building with adequate furnishings, adequate space, adequate laundry, adequate everything for 10, 12, 15 people for less than $200,000. And we can get it done quick. And that I look at as being an interim step. Interim for two reasons. Number one, until we can get this program with the university on Saluki Village. And number two, to see if they can truly take care of it. There's going to have to be somebody cracking a whip pretty goddamn hard. We're going to piss some people off. Because if they don't follow the rules, I build a house for them or build something for them, and I go down there and I find a goddamn hole in the side of the wall. Well, I better not go there. All right,
Well,
that's my 2 cents.
I think Grayson had a great idea. I think maybe we're going after the wrong folks for the wrong reasons. We're social professional fraternity. And Grayson pointed out several times that we need to lean on the professional side. And Tad, I think you, with the strategic committee that they're going to do, I mean, that could be part of it. Line up a strategic plan for scholarship initiatives and lean toward that side. I mean, we also need to take a really hard look as we look forward in will Carbondale be there?
Oh yeah, that's
What's
definitely
what's
part
the,
of
what's the longevity of Carbondale? The only thing that Carbondale really has that they can't take away is the forestry department and the livestock and the ag things. And you got Will there that says, "Well, we'll just take anybody." Well, what's the resiliency of SIUC as opposed to SIUE? This is something that needs to be looked at as we go forward.
Rick. There's no question that your point on the Saluki Village and not having that responsibility is absolutely a positive of that, and I certainly recognize that. The one thing I would say though is this: we're not unique in our challenges with today's individuals, today's brothers, and University of Illinois, Western Illinois State. All three other chapters in the state own their house. They have Western is struggling because that university is struggling as well, but they're struggling with the same things we are. So we're not alone there. I don't want us to all get completely disheartened. There's still good. There's still some good people in this chapter. I've seen chapters go up and down a bunch in 30 years. Hell, I saw a chapter go down and come back up while I was in it. So let's not completely lose hope, folks.
How
No,
do we move at least a little farther away from everything wrapped around social life? That's what really worries me the most. Rick and I have talked about that many times. My real fear is that we're going to find ourselves in some serious liability someday, and we're all going to pay the price. We
I
don't
know
have we don't have the insurance to cover major catastrophe.
well, even if we have the D&O insurance, we've got several things up here in Illinois, or excuse me, in Iowa now, where the D&O insurance, if you do something foolish that involves alcohol or sex, the only thing the D&O insurance is causing anymore is embezzlement. And they're going clear back through to the Alumni Association and the Alumni Association members' assets. So this is not something that we just need to brush off. This is kind of an important deal because Rick doesn't have that much money.
Well, and I know when I looked at insurance for the Alumni Association a year ago, you start getting into coverage for just liability, and in a house like that, and those guys have no idea what the rent is going to be just to cover their insurance bill. I mean, it is just we're paying like $500 a year, but our liability exposure is very limited. You increase that exposure, and all of a sudden, you're at 25,000 in a hurry.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's an awful lot that goes into all of that. And, there's more to it than a roof.
Absolutely.
One of the other things that I know those guys brought up, this spring, I'm sorry, when they said, well, there was no sprinkler system, but that'd be okay. They could manage without that. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, so who's going to make the phone call to the parents when the house is burned? For the guys
Yeah.
that never got.
I don't want
Who's going
anything
to make the phone calls?
anything to do with that. No, I don't want anything to do with an unofficial house. Absolutely not. If the four guys live in a house and they have a party, so be it. But we don't want anything to do with that.
And I can't fault the guys for that kind of logic, because when I was that age, I was indestructible too. But
Well, they need some more guidance. They need regulations. They need policies to follow. And if we can't be there to enforce it, I don't know how we're going to get it done.
Well, the other thing that Chuck, with what you're saying there, I agree 100%. But the environment that they laid out for us tonight, there is no way that you can have control over anything because they're all going to live independently. And then you're talking about a room in a dorm, and that's going to have university policies with it. So, they're not going to listen to us for anything right now until we can either have an interim house or have a house that we have control of for them. That's I don't see any way you can do that. We can have some policies that talk about, okay, it's your responsibility to line up founders, it's your responsibility to do this, your responsibility. I mean, we can do things like that. But as to how they live as a brotherhood, we're at a loss. We've got no control. They're scattered to the wind.
Yep.
We heard from somebody. I'm not saying they're right, but we heard from somebody tonight. Without a house in 2 or 3 years, they think we're gone. The chapter's gone. Maybe that's not the end of the world. I'm just saying I did hear that.
I honestly believe that. I think that when they voted to move out of Freeman, they really thought that we would just run out and buy them another house.
Yeah, that's exactly what they think. Yeah, that's exactly what they think because that's what they've had at home for their whole life. Everybody doing something for them.
Yep.
Going to ask Rick Story how he wants us to resolve this, but it looks like he's on the phone.
Yeah. I would suggest, and this is just a suggestion, you guys have more intelligence than I do. But if we take the policies we wrote and live it and set it up for freshmen and sophomores, would that give them an opportunity to rush freshmen and sophomores, and so that they could have an out? And then we work toward scholarships and professionalism and make it attractive for them to work on the professional side.
Well, you'd like to, but I don't know if I misunderstood, but it looked like Chris Randella was their recruiting chair. And if he is, why they're going nowhere. Because that guy is, as far as I'm concerned, is the nearest thing to worthless there is. Yeah. He's one of those that should have gone a long time ago. But I know Adam Loker a year ago, he did recruit all summer long, and he recruited freshmen, and they had a really pretty good recruiting class last fall. But if you sit on your duff and don't do anything, they're not. What they're going to recruit is a bunch of losers, which is where they had been.
Grayson Appleby is your VNR recruitment. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Al.
That's okay.
I only know that because I'm looking on the website that Rick always updates for us.
Well, they can function and they can survive and they can still recruit and rush. They do not have to have a house. They admitted so with other organizations on campus. They just need to change their direction a little bit.
Kind of speaks to that with a sorority that's got 60 members, and basically they're fighting us for every award in the ag school.
Yep.
And they are from everything I read in the campus stuff, they are very bright, intelligent, go get them kind of young people.
Mm-hmm.
Can I interrupt 1 second? So that was Hayden Lee's the treasurer, and the chapter wants their last month rent back. That they paid for July.
Walk through.
Because they paid in 9 months. And I said, well, we as alumni were thinking we have to pay 2 months to get out of this lease, and your last month was going to cover your half of getting out of this lease. And they weren't happy about that. Maybe I misspoke because that's just what I thought was logical. And I said we have to bring it up before the alumni board. But I said, well, what's your opinion here? They're like, wait a minute. My parents are like, when are you going to get your last month's rent back if you got out of this early?
Good grief.
The discussion for the board, but I think your logic was spot on, Rick. If we had to pay
Yeah.
2 months, they can pay one.
You know, if they want that money back, then we need to start collecting all of the other back stuff that they owe us.
I was shocked just now. I was like, I didn't even think this was going to be an issue.
All I want is
So
a little bit
anyway,
more than I
I'm
can
sorry
have.
to interrupt
No, it's
You weren't interrupting.
because he said
What do you
he
want
said
us
that
to do on the housing policy? Do you want us to try to change it for freshman and sophomore and see if we can run that through, or what's your thoughts?
Well, I guess my thought is yes, let's run it through just freshman, sophomore at this point. Leave it open-ended and leave everything else in. Leave all the rules and regulations and no alcohol and whatever else we said, just change it to freshman, sophomore is my thought at this point. I don't know what else to do.
Is there alcohol allowed on Thompson Point today anyway?
Well, between us and us alone, Susan Graham said because if we do this as a fraternity, she can try to manipulate those rules. And I'm thinking, no, I don't want to manipulate those rules. So that's just between us. I'm just going to tell Susan, no, don't manipulate the rules if that's okay with you guys.
Well, that whole wing will become a party wing.
Well, yeah, and it could be a disaster.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wasn't even going to bring it up to them that Susan offered that.
Wouldn't either.
I mean, maybe I'm overstepping my bounds here, but
yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see if we can get the verbal sophomore waiver in writing and find out when for sure I know what they're telling you, but when they have to have a drop dead answer and what they're asking for a commitment for 2027 fall, and then we go from there. But I agree with let's go freshman, sophomore.
I'll rewrite it and send it out to you guys with those.
Yeah. I think that's a good start.
I've got a thought here that might help a little bit in, I guess, the spirit of unification of the fraternity. So, yes, if we channel our rules and what we'd like to see happen towards the freshmen and sophomore to get them to be there in the Thompson Point on a floor, I certainly wouldn't go overboard. I mean, I wouldn't get crazy with the room commitments. I'd stay on the low side.
I would go as low as possible. Yeah.
But I think we ought to channel. We ought to maybe take this document and instead of calling it housing policy, call it something more like fraternity life, where we would put some stuff in here that would keep the senior members of the fraternity supporting the younger ones, going over there, studying with them in the dorm for a change once in a while, not all the time, but you see where I'm going? In other words, okay, if these guys are going to live independent out here, wherever they're at, until we come up with a place that we can have, and that could be a couple of years here, we ought to turn this document into a fraternal support document where we're saying, okay, so you guys don't want to live in a dorm, but we got a fraternity, and you're responsible for this fraternity, and that means that you're responsible for teaching the younger ones. You're responsible for working with them. You're responsible for going over there and helping them and studying with them and supporting them and going to their environment, as well as that you want them to come to your environment. So this is a two-way street. And that kind of ties maybe a little bit into this professionalism. I think we could come up with 3 or 4 paragraphs that would speak to the senior members of the fraternity of what their obligation is. They may hold an office, but that doesn't mean shit. It's what you do in supporting the younger members, teaching them, and bringing them on board to be the kind of men that we want. And that I think that's something that we're missing here, because we don't have the structure right now, meaning house and coming together, to let that happen. So I think we're going, because they won't do it unless we have some, I don't want to say rules, but unless we find some ways to encourage them to participate with these younger people. It's kind of like, okay, we got this lot over here and they're over there, and okay, you guys can come see us once in a while, but that's it. No, bullshit. You get your ass over there and you support those younger people.
Yeah.
All of them. That's my 2 cents worth. I think the word here, housing policy, is maybe a misnomer. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but I guess I'm more focused on this fraternity, what it means to be a fraternity. So,
What if we
Rick,
said
that's my 2
AGR?
cents worth.
If we said AGR fraternity housing support policy, or
How about living
AGR
policy?
AGR fraternity
How about fraternity living?
Yeah.
AGR fraternity living AGR fraternity living
How about
policy,
AGR
or just
campus life?
Yeah, there you go. Fraternity life or campus life or fraternity camp. I don't know. I just think we're maybe, the words are challenging us in a way that I don't think we can control, and I think we ought to take it in another direction.
all right. What would you mind, Rick, taking? I know you're busy. Taking a few moments and writing down in this policy, modifying this with some of those thoughts that you had.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Uh, now understand that come 5 o'clock a.m. on the 15th until the 22nd, I'm in Canada, and I ain't thinking about nothing.
Oh, come
Right.
on.
No way.
Are you going to ship us some fish?
Let me just real quick. Does the National have anything that they do to support active chapters with training, literature, or anything else other than what we're doing?
Yeah, they have the Top Leaders Institute they do yearly, and then
Yeah, I know that one.
they have other officer training. I can't think of what it is now.
Well, incidentally, Dave Maurer told us, and he's the regional vice president for National AGR that we're working with on this strategic plan to lead. That may not be the right word, but facilitate our strategic plan. He's actually planning on doing a strategic plan with the undergraduate chapter this fall when they get back to campus. So, and at some point, the two need to mold together. But he agrees and understands that we have our own challenges right now and our own vision. So coincidentally, that is in the works. Just so you guys are all aware.
All right. All right. Well, it's just not the way I thought this was going to go.
It never does anymore.
Well, it's kind of reality, Rick. I mean, we're trying to control something we can't control.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, and I've said it many times. Rick and I, Paul and I, talk a lot on housing. All we can do is the best we can do, and gentlemen, that's all we can do. We're trying our best.
Just because I'm old and decrepit, the 30th of June, we are like literally done, got our bills paid, absolutely done with Freeman, right?
We hope.
Well, we are, but we don't know any extra costs that will happen when they when they do their walkthrough after they take possession. That's the unknown.
I want somebody eyes on that house on that weekend before the 30th. And I'm trying to I'll get a hold of Terry again. Maybe Gary Apgar could help us there. I want some eyes on what they're leaving behind and what it looks like. That dumpster is being dropped on that Friday, the 26th or 27th, whatever that Friday is. And they're picking it up on the Monday. They said that's the weekend that everybody's going to be there. And everybody agreed that'd be the weekend to come in and use the dumpster and finish cleaning up.
Be interesting to have some trail cams in that backyard.
Yeah. They'd probably end up in the bonfire with a tree.
I have a feeling we're not going to get our $3,600 security deposit back, but
no, I'm not even going to ask him for it. Honestly, I think that's going to help us to get out the door as quickly as we can.
Well, now wait a minute. That's a two-way street.
Well,
you don't write the full check. You write the 2-month check less $3,600.
Well, there you go. Yep, I just. And even Crossway is still concerned that there's language in the contract that he thinks we're going to get stuck with it. I don't think so. The whole contract. I don't believe that's.
No. But, no, I mean they say it's a 2-month fee to break the lease. Well, that's fine.
That's all it is. And I talked to Will today. I texted him, and they've got everything in the storage unit that's going in there now. So everything else he said, other than their personal stuff, they're still getting out. Everything else is going to be in the dumpster by the end of the month. We'll get those keys to the storage unit, and I want to have Gary Apgar go by and pick those up. I don't want them to disappear. That's all of our paddles, everything that was in that house is in storage. So we need to figure out who's going to hold on to those keys over the interim.
So are we justified to hang on to that last month's rent of the actives until we go before the board and address this splitting the cost?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. They'll get that fucking money when we say they'll get it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
Well, I know if I told all you guys, I was talking to Brian when I was down there last, and I asked him how the owners took this, and he said he was kind of surprised that they did not have any emotion. He just asked Brian, well, okay, what can we do with the building now? They're talking about re-renting or whatever they're going to do. And Brian told me after we're out, just give you an idea how bad the neighborhood is. He'll come in there and take the coated locks off and put in regular keyed locks again. And all the lower windows, they're going to put bars on them to keep vagrants and vandals out of the building. Because it'll be an empty building, it'll be a target. So he's already planning ahead for when we get out.
All right. Well, I know we've gone an hour and 39 minutes, so uh I'll make a first draft rewrite of this. Um Rick, if you want to just add some stuff when you have time, that's great.
Yep.
I'd like to have it approved at the board meeting so we can be done with it and put it into place for whenever Susan needs it. And then we'll go from there. And we'll then
We're gonna have to keep pushing the actors to get us some numbers.
and then Taj and DJ are heading up this strategic planning committee, and we're going to have all the committee members officially formed by the board meeting, so we can, right, Taj, so we can tell the board who's on it, and we can tell them what we're doing and moving forward.
Yes, my opinion is we absolutely need to move forward sooner rather than later. Not that we want to rush it, but we got to get moving on it.
Right. The thought just between this group and Ted, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, David Maurer said, the strategic planning committee should be there to do short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. And part of that is, make your plan before you start going to the alumni for funds for a house. Is that correct?
I would say we want to have a plan. We want to have our story straight before we start asking for major contributions. It's all part of it. Yeah, I would agree. But it's more about all the other questions that we need to ask. We don't even know them all yet. But Paul brought up a couple. What about SIU's future? What about Carbondale's future? All those kinds of things are all part of it. But housing is part of it. Brotherhood is part of it. Yeah.
And Tetch, if you need another member for that, I've been doing a lot of back of the envelope nuts and bolts about costs and so on. So I'd be happy to help if you need somebody.
Anybody from the board I hope everybody knows anybody from the board that wants to serve is more than welcome. We were just trying not to obligate people. So that's
good. We sent out an email asking everybody on the board if anyone would like to join the strategic planning committee.
But I'm not on the board. I'm on the housing committee.
Well, no, you were on the board email. You're on the not necessarily the board, but you're on the part of the governing body, the committees and whatnot. So I asked everybody, board and committees, if anyone wanted to be on it, and the only one that replied was Tom Meyer. So we're happy to take whoever.
Well, Rick, I'd be glad to join in. I mean, there's no question about it, and support, and I might have some old material and stuff like that. I'd be glad to share. I just can't lead it right now. If we were in September of 27, I could do more, but I can't. I'll screw it up for you.
No, we're not looking for the leaders, but we're looking for people that have knowledge and advice, right, Ted?
Yep.
Who have you talked to, Rick, that is going to work with you?
I'm sorry, say it again, Chuck.
Who's already you talked to for this committee?
So far with the committee, we have, I'll tell you right now, I have them down here.
The wrong button and left temporarily.
We were just saying that, if Rick Hyatt can't, devote a lot of time, he's busy, but he certainly wants to be involved and be on the committee, and we said that's fine. We're looking for anybody that can help however they can. Let me tell you, the strategic planning committee right now is DJ Martin, Taj Davis, Tom Meyer, Rick Story, Don Knapp, Greg Robinson, Chuck Richter. That's who's on it right now. We're pleased to have Rick. Rick, you want to be on it?
Yeah.
Is that okay, Taj?
Yep. Yeah, it's the fraternity. It's not my permission. Yeah, absolutely.
Paul, you want to be on it?
I'd be happy to help out and be on it. But I'm thinking you guys need to decide, Taj and Rick, how many you want on there. If you have many more than 9, you're just gonna be
we don't
spinning
want
a lot of wheels.
Well, he said 8 to 10 is a good number.
Yeah.
And there's going to be subcommittees that we're going to break off into, so you need enough members to break off into subcommittees. Is that correct, Tej?
Correct. That's based on what he told us. Yes.
So I mean that's what we were looking for, around 8 to 10. So, right now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with Paul. So I mean that's right in the wheelhouse there, right?
DJ's got feelers out to 1 or 2 more. So if we get 1 or 2 more, we'll be done. If we don't, we might be anyway.
Yeah.
My suggestion with this is make sure you have an odd number in case it ever comes to a vote.
Yeah. I think it's more of a consensus, but yeah, your point is well taken.
Right. Yeah, we're looking to start, as soon as we've got it formed after the board meeting and start rolling.
2 to 3 virtual meetings, an hour and a half piece, and then hopefully a face-to-face meeting at the end.
So, okay. I guess I don't know. I don't have anything else. I'll get this kind of reworded. Rick and Hyatt can send me his thoughts before the 15th, and then I'll get that added in and send out to all you guys to approve. And then we'll present it to the board and at least have something in place for the fall of 27.
Right. Good point. Well, if that's it, I want to bring one more thing up, kind of a good for the order. There has not been anybody in the active or alumni body that I haven't talked to about getting out of this house that has said anything other than good. They're glad to see it happen finally. They don't like that house. They know the disaster it was, so they're all, I think, on board with moving on and getting something else. So I think we will get some excitement and some enthusiasm back from a lot of people now.
I wish to hell they'd have had that attitude and said that when we had a place for them, and they said, "Oh no, we'll be fine with 408 Freeman."
Yeah,
I'd like to kick their fucking ass.
Well, you're right, but the problem is every year the attitudes change.
Yeah.
I mean, last fall they told me without a question of a doubt they'd have a full house this year at Freeman Street for fall of this coming year.
Yeah.
And then you lost guys and attitudes changed, and it's like from one year to the other you can't bet on they're gonna say.
No. Well, I'll tell you what, too. What's his name from National? What's his name just left? Matthew or whatever his name was.
Matt Fisher.
Yeah,
Fisher. I saw one of his emails or text messages or whatever, and he's kind of pushing these guys to get out, that the house was a piece of shit, that we need to get out into another house. I'm sorry, that's not his place to push something like that with our active body. He doesn't know the history of what we're dealing with here. But he's no longer an advisor or chapter with the National anymore either. He's gone.
That's probably a good thing.
That's good.
Yep. All right, well, guys, thank you very much for your time. Sorry it took so long.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Appreciate everything.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
It's hard to believe you used to have black hair, Rick.
Yeah.
Hell, I used to.
See you guys later.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.